Hola amigos, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you haven't been here before, my name is Emma Bennet. I am a UK-based writer and I usually write contemporary romance, but for Camp NaNoWriMo next month I am going to be attempting to write a Regency. And so I have had to call in experts. I spoke to Virginia Heath last week and now I'm coming to the lovely Meredith Phillips. If you haven't checked out Meredith's channel before, where have you been? Make sure that you do. I'm completely fangirling right now. I love all your videos. I watch all your videos as soon as they come out.
Thank you.
Comment all the time. Like, it's brilliant. So Meredith, over to you. Introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Meredith Phillips. I am writing Regency romance and loving it. I wrote the first book in that time period last November for NaNoWriMo, and it fit my voice perfect, and that was it for me. I didn't need to write anything else. So I've been writing now for 7 years, but I finally feel like I found where I'm supposed to be in the writing world.
Awesome. So what other genres did you start off with before you discovered Regency?
I started in YA, almost. I started in YA fantasy, which is hilarious. I don't even really read. That's what I was reading at the time. So of course that's the type of ideas I was getting. But I realized after a couple of years, I really hate world building and like magic creation and all the, I don't want to do that. So then I started writing contemporary romance. I tried rom-coms. I don't know if they were that funny, but that's what they were supposed to be. And what I really wanted to write was historical romance, but I felt like I didn't know enough about the time period to make it like accurate or to know if it was realistic. And I just was like, you can't do that. And then early last year, I was like, they make books that can educate you on the time period. So why don't you read some of those? And then
you can actually learn this.
Yes. What an amazing revelation that was. So yeah, I started reading a whole lot about the time period to educate myself, and then I felt confident and ready to go by last year, November.
Brilliant. And what was it particularly about the Regency period, though, that drew you?
I just love it. It's so much fun. Like, we don't go to balls. We don't have like parties like that. It's just fun. And I mean, I know there's a certain aspect of them that is definitely romanticized, but I don't care. It's still a lot of fun. So I like all of that kind of fancy parties and all of the, I like a lot of the strict rules that they had because it creates a lot of obstacles for your characters, which can be fun to work around. And a lot of times in a contemporary romance, there aren't as many obstacles. I mean, obviously there's still conflict and stuff in those, but there's a lot more that you can pull from in these older set kind of periods. So I really enjoy trying to work around, well, how could they end up together? How are they going to combat this, social issue or whatever? So I really just enjoy all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think it's really great to have those external things that you're trying to work around. Like, we were just chatting before we started recording about an issue that I had, and I thought I was like, oh, that could be cool. And you were like, no. And you told me something that I had no idea about society at that time. And it was like, yeah, it's fun. It's really, really fun kind of working around these things. Were there any other time periods that you considered, or were you definitely like straight away, if I'm writing a historical, it's Regency?
Lately, it's definitely been Regency. I did write a historical romance several years back that was set in 1880s Kansas. Ooh. And that was also fun. I was learning about like homesteads and all that kind of stuff that was, in the American West at the time. I enjoyed that, but it wasn't quite the same. I don't know. It didn't have the same vibe. I enjoyed that story, but I wanted to write about people in fancy dresses and
the elegance
lords and ladies. Yeah,
the lords and ladies. That's definitely fun. So tell us a little bit about your manuscript. Are you willing to give anything away? Or is it absolutely top secret? How
I can tell a little bit. The main trope is marriage of convenience, because that's my all-time favorite trope.
Mhm.
I don't care if you're writing a book and that's the trope you're using, I don't need to know anything else, like,
That's it.
that's
Yeah, you're
good.
there.
There we
You're there
go.
for it.
So I've got that, and then, a big cast of characters. One of my other favorite things to do in or to see and read in Regency or any kind of historical romance is a big cast where you've got like bunches of siblings or a big friend
Mhm.
group or something like that. So I've definitely employed that in mine. Everybody has, multiple siblings and there's friends and there's all these other people kind of swarming in the background. That of course I have ideas for all of them for future books,
Yeah, sure.
but I've got that kind of thing going on. There's a little bit of a friends to ex-friends to lovers kind of situation. So
Mhm.
I'm using that kind of back and forth as well.
Nice. I think the marriage of convenience also works very well for Regency because
Mhm.
it is a way, if you want to have a bit of passion and a few sex scenes in there, it's kind of the only way that you can get them in there
Yeah.
because it just didn't happen for
Yeah.
women at
It was
least before
definitely
marriage.
difficult.
So,
And it
yeah.
was, they had to preserve themselves. So yeah, that would have it is harder to do that if they're not if there's not some sort of at least forced proximity kind of going
Yeah.
on. Yeah.
Yeah. You don't want your heroine to be ruined.
I know. Right. Scandalous.
So I know from watching many of your videos that you are very into your research and you know all the fantastic resources that
I know
I
some, yeah.
need to know. So I've been reading, obviously, lots of Regency romances. I've been watching what I can. I just finished season 2 of Bridgerton,
Mm.
and my poor husband had to sit through the latest Persuasion, the one that's on
Oh.
Netflix on date night last week.
Is that the one with, who's the main girl in that?
Dakota Fanning.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
thought she was good. I mean, have you seen it?
I haven't. I saw
Mhm.
screenshots from it though, and I
Mhm.
was confused about why they were making certain choices with the costumes, but and
Yeah,
hairstyles. They definitely tried to, like, I think throw in modern stuff.
yeah. They
Yeah.
tried to kind of Bridgerton it and make her more modern. So she's like swigging red wine from the bottle at points and things like that. But Wentworth, he just looked either drunk or half asleep,
Mm.
like the whole time. I mean, I know that he's not the most exciting hero. He is kind of depressed most of the time, just walks around looking depressed. So I kind of get it, but it was like, could you just brighten up your face a little bit,
Mm.
like show some animation. But I did enjoy it. My husband did not.
No. Well,
So
too bad.
no, yeah, too bad. There you go. That's, I was writing, I was working, it's all for the greater good. You
Mhm.
can't, you can't complain about that, can you?
Exactly.
But yeah, so is there anything else that you would kind of recommend? I've got a few nonfiction books that I'm working my way through as well, but I know that you know all the good groups and things to join on Facebook.
Yeah. Yes, there are some Facebook groups, but what I would recommend is a completely separate organization. It's the Regency Fiction Writers. And
Oh,
it's like a membership group, so you do have to pay dues if you want to officially join. But their website does have a lot of free resources for just anybody. So I would definitely check that out. I signed up as a member back in January, and they have a ton. I mean, just years and years and years worth of resources on their website. They've got a forum, which I love because people have asked, again, going back years, you could search the forum.
mhm.
People have asked all kinds of weird little nitpicky questions that are
Yeah.
just super interesting. And there's a bunch of people in that group who will reply if you have a question about, like, hey, can I do this kind of thing? Or how would this have worked? There's some really, really knowledgeable people over there. who know all of the things and can tell you like, oh no, you can't, that wouldn't have worked this way, or
Mhm.
the character would have had to do it this way or whatever. So I would definitely recommend checking out Regency Fiction Writers. It's a really fantastic group. They have a conference coming up, an online conference coming up next month.
Mhm.
Julie Quinn, the Bridgerton author, is going to be the
Mhm.
keynote speaker along with Kathy Maxwell. They've got Kate Bateman. Like they've got a lot of really cool people who are going to be
Yeah.
presenting. So yeah, that's the number one resource I would check out, because they've got a ton of stuff. If you want other online resources, I would check out the Regency History blog or the Jane Austen's World blog, both of which are really good. Again, like,
Mhm.
going back years and years worth of posts. And the one thing I really enjoy about them, aside from all of the information they share, is that they cite their sources. At the bottom of the post, they
Oh.
said, like, here's where I found this, or here's what, they tell you where they're getting their info from. That's one
Yeah.
thing, if you're doing research online, you do need to be careful of, is some people will write blog posts and it sounds legit, and maybe it is,
Yeah.
but they don't tell you where they've acquired this
Mhm.
information. And so
Yeah.
you don't want to get into a situation where you've read something on someone's blog and use that as a main component in your story, only to
Mhm.
find out that it's somehow false or not really accurate in some way. So if you're using online stuff like that, definitely make sure you're looking for cited sources and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah. But those are the big ones I would suggest for online.
Mhm. Oh, I read Rapid Regency. I found really
Mm.
good. I don't know if you've read that book as just like a starting place. Jewel Allen,
I
I want
think
to
I have read
say.
that one.
Yeah, it's good. I
I'm
mean,
pretty
obviously,
sure I
it's
did.
very basic, but
Yeah.
I thought it was a really good starting point. I read that a couple of months ago, I think,
Yeah.
and I got quite a lot out of that. And I especially like the way she has a section in it where she talks about actual things that happened during the period and the weather during the period and things
Mm.
like that, so that you can, add in that, during November, whatever, there was this terrible storm that
Yeah.
everybody was talking about for weeks. I thought that was a really good idea, because I think one thing that you want to be really aware of is giving the feel for the era, but not overwhelming
Yeah.
the
For
reader with
sure.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was reading Georgette Heyer, and I just found that there was too much of the actual history in there,
Mm.
and too many, like she uses the French words for the different hairstyles, for example, and the descriptions of the clothes in particular. I just didn't need to know it, and it slowed down my reading
Yeah.
of the book. So yeah, I think it's hard to find that line,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
You definitely don't want to overdo it. She was writing in the 50s though, the 1950s, I
And
believe.
earlier, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So it
yeah.
is, if you're reading, it is a little bit an older style book for sure.
Mhm.
I feel like I need to read at least one of her books because she's like the OG sort of Regency
That's what
gal.
I
So I feel like
figured.
it's a dummy
Yeah,
not having read her, but um, she's on my TBR at some point. I'll get to a Georgette Heyer book. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, you do need to be careful because I mean, like you said, I have a lot of information, and some of it is like, oh, I just want to tell you because it's so cool. But
yeah.
you can't, most people are reading for the story and the characters and
Mhm.
the love story. They're not interested in, what color exactly the dress was and what the sleeves looked like. You can sprinkle in that information, but you
Yeah,
don't need to have like chonky paragraphs of
mhm.
super descriptive kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it just slows things down. Yeah,
Yeah.
especially when it's an actual Regency romance that you're writing, as opposed to, it's like a Regency story, I guess, for want of a better term. Yeah, it is
Mhm.
important to keep in mind that it's the couple that people are actually interested in.
Yeah.
So, are there any real difficulties that you've faced while writing? I mean, what stage are you at the moment with your manuscript?
I just started draft 4. So I'm hoping this is going to be sort of the final draft and fixing stuff up before I can send it to beta readers. So fingers crossed. But yeah, so the main plot points and the character arcs, like that kind of stuff is pretty set in place at this point. I'm fixing up any kind of details that are missing or repeated words. Every hill in England in my book is a rolling hill. So we're fixing up stuff like
Oh,
that.
that's nice.
It is nice maybe once, but I've said that like 7 times throughout the book. I'm like, okay, we could change this up a little bit. So I'm doing that kind of fix up stuff right now.
Yeah.
I think for me, the biggest challenge, gosh, was probably during the outlining phase that I was doing last year, because I really enjoy when it's obvious without being too heavy that the author has done research and that they're fitting in details where appropriate. And so I wanted to do that with mine. Um, and there's just the period of time, that little short Regency period, there is so much going on, not only
Yeah.
within English borders, but also like England around the world and all the stuff they were involved in. Like
Yeah.
1812 is just this crazy year. There's so much. And I kept being like, oh, how can I fit this in? Or like the characters would know about this thing happening. Like they should mention it. And so it was, I had to nitpick what am I actually going to use? What needs to be in here? What can I set aside? So yeah, filtering through that kind of information, I think, was the biggest challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it was a bonkers period.
It
I
really
mean,
was.
we English caused quite a lot of trouble and got involved in a lot of stuff
Yeah.
during that. Yeah, and how much of the actual like military side of things do you show? Because a lot of the handsome young men in the boots and the breeches that we all love so much would have been fighting wars or have come back from fighting wars.
Yeah, on multiple continents,
Mm.
because they're fighting Napoleon over in France, and then
Oh
1812 you get started with the War of 1812 with America, so they're sending
yeah,
people over to the other side of the Atlantic. And
well, we had to come and deal with you guys. I
you
mean,
did, we were just
it would
going
have been
crazy.
nice if you could have given us a break, if we could have finished with
Sorry,
well,
sorry.
first. No, 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 no. You had to
No,
go
we
and kick
had to
up
go
a
and
fuss.
declare war on Britain. And then your prime minister was assassinated that spring.
Yeah.
That wasn't great. So they were really dealing with a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it's almost as bad as it is now.
It almost. It is. There were times where I was reading, I was like, this is almost, the amount of craziness, like not just like all the wars and junk, but then there's a lot of like social issues going on. A lot of people are starting to take notice of like, hey, why are we sending 5-year-olds down into coal mines? Like, is that
Do we
cool?
really
No.
need to do
So
that?
there's people starting to question that kind of thing, thankfully. And then there's like the Luddite rebellion is going on. You've got the start of like the rise of the middle class, which is creating a lot of conflict with all these lords who are, they don't want these up and coming wealthy people to be part of their ranks. Like there's so much. There's just so much. And so it seems like, well, the characters in our stories would be very aware of all this stuff. It wasn't some peaceful, we're just going to parties all day,
Yeah,
there was a lot weighing on these people's minds for sure.
yeah, yeah. So, I mean, do you know how long yours is going to be? Are you at a point with the fourth draft that you can say, like, roughly how long it's going to be? Because mine's going to be a kind of a shorter one. So,
Like
I
in
mean,
terms of word count?
yeah, sorry, in terms of word
Oh
count.
yeah. Well, I did hit 100,000 words. It does not need to be that long. The story is not that involved. I need to cut like at least 10,000 words, because it's too much. I don't know what I'm gonna cut, because I don't feel like any of the scenes are like unnecessary. Maybe they
Yeah,
are, but that's way too long. I'm really aiming for like maybe 80 to 90,000 total. I think that would be a good word count, and that's pretty typical for the genre too, is in there. You
Yeah.
could certainly have one shorter than that. There's not. I don't feel like anybody's going to turn down something that's shorter, but just because of that.
Yeah, I mean, I know Virginia Heath was saying she's published by Mills and Boon, but also by, I'm wanting to say Headline. At least in the UK, it's Headline. And her ones for Headline are 100,000.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I'd love to get it down. I don't know. I just feel like I keep thinking back, like, what is taking this long in the story? Why is it this long?
the feelings.
There's a lot of feelings, yeah.
We can't rush these things.
Oh my gosh, wow, it really ballooned though, because my first draft was only 65,000-ish. And I am an underwriter, so that was definitely not enough. But I just feel like 100,000. If I put that in a query letter.
No, I think it would be fine. Like Virginia Heath, like I say,
I'd like to get it down under that. Come on,
Okay.
like just a little bit. Just pull it down a little bit.
Just a tiny bit.
Yeah.
So have you added comedy into it as well, as you were saying that you like to write a rom-com?
Not like a rom-com style. Hopefully the characters are coming across as a bit witty in certain situations. But not like, I'm not trying to put in any kind of overt, like, laugh out loud sort of moments necessarily.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I haven't decided. I was going to say I haven't decided if I'm going to or not, but I might not be capable of. So why don't we see if I'm capable of writing anything funny?
Yeah.
First,
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe we'll go with that. And but yeah, Facebook groups. Have you got any of those that you can recommend for me?
There's one. Let me look at it because the name is extremely long. And I will not say it correctly. Okay, it's the League of Extraordinary Historical Romance Authors. Why did they need to make it that long? I don't know. This one is actually kind of cool because there are members who are like major published authors. I can't remember if it's all indie or if it's not all trad pub, I'm sure. Or if it's mixed, I can't quite remember. But there's a bunch of people in here who, they're published. They've got a ton of books out there.
They know what they're doing.
Yeah, there's that one. I'm not on Facebook all that often. So there's some other groups that I'm a member of, but I don't look at them a whole lot. There's Writing Romance. That one is another one I'm part of. And then I'm also part of the Mary Balog fan group because I love Mary Balog, but that one's really more for readers, not necessarily for writers.
Sure. I haven't read anything by her.
She's my all-time favorite. I love her. They're a little different than some others. It's a slower kind of paced book, very character driven, very character heavy. But she has such a beautiful writing voice and you just feel completely immersed in the world. It's just gorgeous. Like, I love her.
Oh, okay. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah.
When I'm editing this, I'll be like writing down all my notes, down all these people that I need to read and all these things I need to look up. Oh, well, thank you so much for joining me today, Meredith. This has been really, really useful.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. I'm feeling it was supposed to be like all this month that I was kind of properly preparing, but life gets in the way. So it's getting to the point now where I'm beginning to panic a little bit. So this has been really good.
Good.
Like bringing my mind properly back to it and getting an idea of what I can be working on. So thank you. If you haven't subscribed to Meredith, you guys are crazy. The link to her channel will be down in the description. She does fantastic vlogs, and she has bunnies, which unfortunately couldn't be with us today.
Sorry. They're old and cranky, so they're in their little
So am
bunny
I, but
pen.
I've turned up, you know. Yeah, you shared, I think was it on Instagram that you shared like a little story with them, like being put in the
Yeah.
pet carrier and
Yeah.
wasn't
Not
happy.
happy in the carrier case while I cleaned
Yeah,
their pen. Yeah.
yeah, that made me very, very happy.
Oh.
Oh, I love that. Okay, well, yeah, thank you everybody for watching. I really hope that this has been useful for you as well. If you are writing a Regency romance or considering writing a Regency romance, and if you are, then let me know. We can be friends and we can hang out together. And I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye for now.